guys, today I wanted to share with you one of my very favorite books. I think I have told you about this book before. It's not very new. Here it is. It's called Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World. And in this book, Joanna Weaver goes through the stories of Mary and Martha, who I've been talking a lot about lately, I know. And she walks through it so well. And this book was such an encouragement to me. You see, about 16, almost 17 years now, I was working in Barcelona, Spain with my husband, and we didn't have any kids, but I was newly pregnant. And I was trying to decide what my ministry was going to look like once I had a new baby. And honestly, I was thinking, it can never work. This ministry can't work without me. What I do is too important. It's embarrassing to think about now, but this is what I was processing through when I was getting ready to have my first baby. And then my friend recommended this book and I read it, and this is how I found some real perspective on my own calling, the specific things that God needs me to do, and maybe some things he doesn't need me to be the one to do. And there's a story in here that I've been wanting to share with you, so I'm just going to read from the book. If you don't mind, this is from chapter 4 called The Cure. The story is told of a man who met God in a lovely valley one day. I'm going to change it to a woman because really this story is about me. Maybe you'll see yourself in it too. How are you this morning? God asked the gal. I'm fine, thank you, she replied. Is there anything I can do for you today? Yes, there is, God said. I have a wagon with 3 stones in it, and I need someone to pull it up the hill for me. Are you willing? Oh, yes, I would love to do something for you. Those stones don't look very heavy, and the wagon's in good shape. I'd be happy to do that. Where would you like me to take it? God gave the girl specific instructions, sketching a map in the dust at the side of the road. Go through the woods and up the road that winds up the side of the hill. Once you get to the top, just leave the wagon there. Thank you for your willingness to help me today. No problem, she replied cheerfully. The wagon pulled a little bit behind her, but the burden was an easy one. She began to whistle as she walked quickly through the forest. The sun peeked through the trees and warmed her back. What a joy to be able to help out the Lord, she thought, enjoying the beautiful day. Just around the third bend, she walked into a small village. People smiled and greeted her. Then at the last house, a man stopped her and asked, How are you this morning? What a nice wagon you have. Where are you off to? Well, God gave me a job this morning. I'm delivering these 3 stones to the top of the hill. My goodness, can you believe it? I was just praying this morning about how I was going to get this rock I have up to the top of the mountain, the man told her with great excitement. You don't suppose you could take it up there for me? It would be such an answer to prayer. The girl with the wagon smiled and said, Of course, I don't suppose God would mind. Just put it behind the other 3 stones. Then she set off with 3 stones and a rock rolling behind her. The wagon seemed a bit heavier. She could feel the jolt of each bump, and the wagon seemed to pull to one side a bit. The girl stopped to adjust the load as she sang a hymn of praise, pleased to be helping out a brother as he served God. Then she set off again and soon reached another small village at the side of the road. A good friend lived there and offered her a glass of cider. You're going to the top of the hill? Her oldest friend asked. Yes, I'm so excited. Can you imagine? God gave me something to do. Hey, said her friend, I need this bag of pebbles taken up. I've been so worried that it might not get taken care of since I haven't had any time to do it myself. But you could fit it right between the other 3 stones here in the middle. With that, he placed his burden in the wagon. Shouldn't be a problem, the girl said. I think I can handle it. She finished the cider, then stood up and brushed her hands on her overalls before gripping the handle of the wagon. She waved goodbye and began to pull the wagon back onto the road. The wagon was definitely tugging on her arm now, but it wasn't uncomfortable. As she started up the incline, she began to feel the weight of the 3 stones, the rock, and the pebbles. Still, it felt good to help a friend. Surely God would be proud of how energetic and helpful she had been. One little stop followed another, and the wagon grew fuller and fuller. The sun was hot above the girl pulling it, and her shoulders ached with the strain. The songs of praise and thanksgiving that had filled her heart had long since left her lips as resentment began to build inside. Surely this wasn't what she signed up for that morning. God had given her a burden heavier than she could bear. The wagon felt huge and awkward as it lumbered and swayed over the ruts in the road. Frustrated, she was beginning to have visions of giving up and letting the wagon roll backward. God was playing a cruel game with her. The wagon lurched and the load of obligations collided with the back of her legs, leaving bruises. This is it, she fumed. God can't expect me to haul this all the way up the mountain. Oh, God, she wailed. This is too hard for me. I thought you were behind this trip, but I am overcome by the heaviness of it. You'll have to get someone else to do it. I am just not strong enough. As she prayed, God came to her side. Sounds like you're having a hard time. What's the problem? You gave me a job that's too hard for me, she sobbed. I'm just not up to it. God walked over to where the wagon was braced with a stone. What is this? He held up the bag of pebbles. Well, that belongs to my good friend. He didn't have time to bring it up himself. I thought I would help. And this? God tumbled 2 pieces of shale over the side of the wagon as the man tried to explain. God continued to unload the wagon, removing both light and heavy items. They dropped to the ground, the dust swirling up around them. The girl who had hoped to help God grew silent. If you will be content to let others take their own burdens, God said, I will help you with your task. But I promised I would help. I can't just leave these things lying here. Let others shoulder their own belongings, God said gently. I know you were trying to help, but when you are weighted down with all these cares, you cannot do what I have asked of you. The girl jumped to her feet, suddenly realizing the freedom God was offering. You mean I only have to take the 3 stones after all? That is what I asked you to do, said God. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. I will never ask you to carry more than I can help you bear. I can do that, said the girl, grinning from ear to ear. She grabbed the wagon handle and set off once again, leaving the rest of the burdens beside the road. The wagon still lurched and jolted lightly, but she hardly noticed. A new song filled her lips, and she noticed a fragrant breeze wafting over the path. With great joy, she reached the top of the hill. It had been a wonderful day, for she had done what the Lord had asked. Have you been picking up extra stones to carry, stones that weren't meant to be yours when God asked you to carry one thing? And yet you said, oh, but somebody needs to do this one too, and this one, and I want to help my friend with this. Do you have a tendency to do that and then to take on too much and blame God for it? I have a hard time determining what exactly God is calling me to do. But I think what I need to learn to do, even now, even rereading this 16 years later, is just to remember to pray before I take on a new burden. Ask God if He needs me to do it or if He intends for this to be a blessing for someone else to experience. This has been your Tuesday Talk. I hope you guys have a great day.